even after you do authenticate and prove you are who you say you are through a username and password. Zero trust architecture maintains, hey, are there any anomalies going on within that device? There's this idea of assumed breach. It's going to happen. Now, how are you going to mitigate it when it does? That's a key principle within the zero trust mindset.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Incident Report presented by Quest Technology Management. I'm Paul Burke, Director of Technology Communications. Every week, I'm joined by VP of Sales and Partnerships, Adam Burke. The Incident Report brings you conversations with thought leaders, business innovators, and channel mavericks to help you stay productive and agile in a changing technology landscape. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Incident Report. I'm one of your hosts, Paul Burke. This is episode 23, and 2 states over is my co-host, Adam Burke. How are you doing?
Good, Paul. Happy to be here. Hope everyone had a great weekend and ready to get after it today.
Anything exciting happen over the weekend?
We got monsoon season that we're dealing with here in the great state of Arizona, and it was in full effect. We had rain, we had lightning, we had hail, we had all sorts of stuff going on. For those who are not used to monsoons, it's basically a torrential downpour after it's been 115 degrees all day. So a lot of fun.
So if I understand correctly, you get to live on the surface of the sun and have the risk of being swept away by rain.
Yeah. We were driving north after having a great dinner at Lou Minaldi's, which is a fantastic Chicago-style pizza. For those of you who don't know, a lot of Chicago folks in the Scottsdale area. But we were heading north, and there was a wall of just terrifyingly dark clouds heading from east to west. That was fun. A good race home before that one hit.
Sounds terrifying.
It was great.
Adam, the only transition I can think of from what you just shared to the news stories today is we are awash in new products. See what I did there? Awash. From Cisco, HPE, and others. The first story today comes from channelfeatures.com. All the links are in the description. Let's get into it. Cisco added cloud management to its switches. The networking giant now lets customers manage their Catalyst switches using the Meraki portal.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Yeah, so Meraki, I can never pronounce it right either. Meraki.
Wow, I really butchered that reading.
It's a cloud-based configuration for your switches, which I'm glad they did this for their Catalyst switches. Anytime something can be configured from the cloud or from a hosted tenant, I've been using the analogy of, it's like Meraki, which basically means that you can go in to a dashboard, make moves, adds, changes, and adjustments to switches that are physical or hosted, but basically it's a cloud-based portal, making those command changes from a hosted instance as opposed to having to be there present or remoting in or being on a console cable directly into the switch.
And also, Cisco has brought in Nexus data center switches into the cloud.
Yeah, same kind of feature, that capability, that software. Cisco is making that transition to really being a software company. We've seen them kind of with that shift of they're always gonna want to sell route switch, and we're always gonna see that. Quest has been a Cisco Gold partner for coming up on 20 plus years. So route switch, selling switches, selling routers, selling firewalls is core to what they do, but they're moving into doing it in a software version as well, right? So same capability, same intelligence, same leading edge, type of concepts and designs and all the great bells and whistles you get, but just, as a software version as opposed to a hardware physical instance.
Also, Avant gave its sales partners a new cybersecurity offering to sell. Bot detection and mitigation provides NetSia signed an agreement with a Chicago-based tech service distributor. NetSia builds threat intelligence and machine learning into its platform.
Avant is one of the technology distributors, that Quest works with. They're a national provider, great company. They have a lot of partners out there in the channel that they're constantly bringing, new services to market around what people can help their customers with. They have a service provider network they call Trusted Providers. We're a service provider in that environment as well, and we kind of help put parts and pieces together for them. But security industry is evolving so quickly that making sure that their trusted advisor network has access to the latest and greatest is something that Avant does really well. It's always been a pleasure working with those guys over there, and they're out of Chicago, but but nationally they have agents and partners everywhere. So actually, and market calendars we're coming up. They're starting to advertise it more, but we're going to be a sponsor at their Special Forces Summit in Austin, Texas. I believe it's in September. So coming up in September, in-person event, Special Forces. A lot of it's going to be around security at the Avant event coming up in September. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Nice. You'll be down there?
I'll be down there. Yep. Always good to get into Austin. If you have the opportunity to get there, it's a great place to spend time with other folks in the channel from IT standpoint. And Avant always puts on an amazing show. I've always admired their events and their marketing. It's pretty impressive.
Adam, there's even more product announcements. Hewlett-Packard Enterprise bolstered its flagship as a service offering. The various enhancements to GreenLake include GreenLake for Data Fabric, which is a managed service for hybrid environments. HPE also launched a GreenLake tool for hyper-converged infrastructure and disaster recovery. Adam, I got to start at the beginning. What is GreenLake? Let's start there. Let's pretend I don't know what it is.
Yeah, no, let's pretend. That's good. No, GreenLake is their as a service and capacity usage-based version of hardware. So back in the day, people would buy a bunch of servers and storage and switches and have to figure out how to get all that stuff to work. And a lot of the vendors started moving towards delivering capacity as a service instead of going to the cloud, right? So GreenLake and HPE, if you've been watching, sports or any events, HPE GreenLake has really been advertising to the business community that you don't have to go full boat cloud. You can subscribe to your hardware even though it's sitting in your data closet or your data center. If that sounds familiar to any of our listeners, it is, because we've started a project called QuestFlex about 15, 20 years ago, where we helped organizations put together, servers, storage, switching, firewalls as a service on premise or in a data center of their choosing. What GreenLake is doing is very, very similar. It's capacity-based usage of their hardware. So you don't have to buy all the gear all at once. You can purchase it. I'm doing air quotes right now. Purchase it, and it becomes a subscription-based how much CPU are you using, how much RAM are you using, how much storage are you using. It's more of a capacity play and a subscription for on-premise as opposed to in the cloud. It's a hybrid option for folks who aren't fully ready to migrate all their applications to Azure, AWS, or anything like that. And there's a market for it. There's absolutely a market for it. We're selling it. We're seeing customers and partners acquire it. There's absolutely a market for it. So it's exciting to see that they're continuing to invest, new features into this, right? And they're hyper-converged is another marketing term. Apologies to all the marketing folks out there. Great slide decks and really impressive. But hyper-converged is basically the idea. All of your server storage, infrastructure, and switching all logically compressed into basically one device. So you had converged architecture, which was switching, fabric, storage, and compute. That was your converged environment. Hyper-converged is basically saying all that stuff, one device. That's cool that they're moving that into a consumption-based option as well.
It's not shared space with other businesses?
No, it's dedicated to the client. Just pretend that GreenLake is $1 million box that costs HPE $1 million. They're going to sell it to a customer over a 3 to 5 year period. And over that 3 to 5 year period, what they size that $1 million box to do is basically that customer is going to add capacity and use additional percentages of that $1 million pie over the course of the life of that server. So it used to be they just sell the $1 million up front. Hey, good luck. Here's a professional service partner to help you put it together and make it work. Or maybe you got some folks on your team who can do that. Now what they're doing is they're saying, hey, here's the $1 million box. I know you only need 57% of the capacity right now. So you're going to pay that subscription day one for 57%. But we all know compute increases, storage increases. There's smart people at these companies. You're going to increase utilization as you continue to use that environment. So you're going to add more VMs. You're going to use more compute. You're going to use more storage, and over the life of that device, you're going to pay those subscriptions as you use it.
So would it be an OpEx or would it be a CapEx?
That's for the accounting folks to figure out. It depends how you want to depreciate on your books. That's the CFOs and the smart people that are not me. But you can treat it as an OpEx if you want to, or you can depreciate the asset if you want to. No matter how you're planning on the capacity, you still need to make sure that it's going to function for your environment, and you need to migrate your applications and your data and your connectivity to it. And then you also have to tie in how are you going to recover from it in the event of a failure. Those basic mechanics still exist across the board, still need to invest in operations. But these subscription services that folks are doing, it all comes back to what really happened when we saw this. We saw this with Microsoft when they went to subscription-based services. It's the call home feature, right? So a long time ago, you always saw ads about pirating software. There was a horrible article the other day about a person who's going to, serious prison for selling over $1 billion of fake Cisco gear online on Amazon.
They sold $1 billion on Amazon?
Funny story. We always had a rep who would come to us and be like, yeah, we quoted this out, but they went on Amazon and they got it cheaper. And like, I wonder how that happened. So we found out now this guy sold over $1.6 billion of basically gray market filth. Yeah. So he's going to jail. But back in, there used to be people would steal hardware, steal software and copy it illegally and those types of things and not necessarily pay for what they were using. The cloud and subscription-based SaaS changed that game. And that's how you're able to leverage something like GreenLake, because HPE can have visibility of what you're actually using. So if you agree, hey, I'm going to pay for what I use off this $1 million box, but I'm only going to pay for what I actually use, you're not sneaking anything past the goalie here, because that's tied to the internet and it's tied to reporting features that go back to the powers that be that know what you're actually utilizing. So there's a dump every month, every day of what you're actually using on that $1 million box. You're going to pay for what you're using. That's where, everyone was talking about the brilliance of Microsoft transitioning to the cloud. It was really cool, but what they got very right and what exploded their valuation was they figured out the best way to track utilization of their software. They enabled people. It was kind of like I'm sure there's some historical analogy that could fit here, but basically they handed someone a token that could really enable remote users, but at the same time, they cut off the ability of certain people in IT from using software they weren't paying for. So with one hand, you got some really cool capabilities to support your end users. With the other hand, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be paying for your software. A lot of people historically, maybe they didn't pay for everything they used, right? They weren't 100% honest with what was actually being used. You don't have that option anymore. You just don't. Everything's connected. Things are calling back home, validating. If you don't pay your subscription, you're not getting into that application.
It's a cat's paw. Be careful what you wish for. That sort of situation.
Yeah.
And finally, Adam, up next. I know we've covered a lot of products, but Cato has added ransomware protection to its SaaS platform. Cato Cloud now identifies machines that have suffered ransomware attacks. Cato is using heuristic algorithms to inspect server message block protocol flows. That does not roll off the tongue.
Yeah, heuristic algorithm inspect server block SMB protocol flows. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the ability on their SASE platform to proactively identify machines that have malware on them and either about to be or have been encrypted for a ransomware attack. So it's running algorithms. It's looking for that protocol and doing some proactive detection. So pretty cool what Cato's doing. A lot of people from a SASE platform standpoint are playing catch up to Cato. They were kind of one of the first ones to get that deployed and get that going. So they've been an interesting partner to watch.
Again, if you're interested in learning about all these products, check out channelfutures.com or the description where we have all the links. Up next, we're moving over to wire19.com. In the article, Zero Trust Security Adoption sees a 27% rise in just 2 years, says Telegeography. Global telecommunications market research and consulting firm Telegeography revealed that 35% of wide area network managers implemented one or more elements of zero trust security and secure access service on some of their company's networks in 2021.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I think, part of the landscape that's driving that is the continued threats for remote workforce and for people accessing corporate environments and organizational networks from new and different areas. So what zero trust is, the architecture and the framework of what that really means is kind of, an always remote, never trusted concept, right? So even after you do authenticate and prove you are who you say you are through a username and password, the zero trust architecture maintains, hey, are there any anomalies going on within that device? That device is brokered and the connections are managed in a unique way for that remote user. And you're always validating that you are who you say you are as you go through the network. So a lot of different layers to zero trust, a lot of different ways to authenticate devices and users and people and how they're going through the network.
I think it's also important to mention that Telegeography did the same survey in 2019, and only 8% of WAN managers said they had implemented zero trust security. So this is a pretty sizable jump of 27% within just a couple of years.
There are enough breaches that one of the principles around zero trust, or assuming that the breach is going to happen, how are you going to prevent damage from lateral movement? So you got to segment the network. You got to enforce policies to segment the network. So verifying that all the sessions that are touching your network environment are encrypted, from an end-to-end basis, like using constant analytics to get visibility of potential breaches. There's this idea of assumed breach, like it's going to happen. Now, how are you going to mitigate it when it does? That's a key principle within the zero trust mindset.
And is zero trust different than MFA?
So MFA is multi-factor authentication. So basically saying that one of the most common breaches we see, in certain SaaS environments is they're only securing it with username and password, right? So you have a username and password, it's the same username and password you use for all your other subscriptions. And once that's breached, there's no additional factor to authenticate who you are. So I don't know if you've noticed when you're logging into maybe your banking application or your 401k, or, if you have a brokerage portal or something like that, or oftentimes when you're logging into your healthcare provider to check your doctor's appointment or something like that, you're going to have your username and password. But then when you log in, you're going to have something else that you're going to have to authenticate, right? So you're either going to get a text message and saying, yes, this is me, or you're going to get a code that gets sent to your email or to your text, and you're going to have to enter that code in. There has to be multiple layers to getting in. That's MFA. So things like Okta, Duo, Microsoft has tokens and tools to do that. So MFA is more around access. Zero trust is the principle that, okay, even if you get through the MFA hurdle, how am I going to identify that this person is who they say they are when they want to get into the HR records, right?
Okay.
And so then you assume that your MFA is going to fail. So principle of zero trust is assumed breach. And then you want to say, okay, I want to create a least privileged environment. You have minimal access for people into environments based on policies around controlling what that person can and cannot touch. It's a least privilege. Like, hey, you have to have at least this amount of privileges to get through the front door. And then your privileges also dictate, okay, can this person get into the living room? Or no, they can only go as far as the entryway, and then they have to do something else, right? So setting that privilege. And it has to be explicitly documented and explicitly applied to every user who touches that environment. It's a lot of work. It's a serious endeavor. It's good to see that there's been an increase in people implementing certain features of zero trust. But it's definitely not done.
Great explanation. Thank you. Adam, we're out of stories.
Out of stories. That's upsetting.
I know. What's going on this week? Anything exciting?
Nothing too crazy. Just getting through summer, waiting for school to start again. It's going all right. How about you? Anything good going on?
So I started doing more upper body workouts. And by more, I mean started, period. And Adam, I can't move my arms. Like, they're so sore. And I keep feeling like, you ever watch those zombie films and the zombies who run, they keep their arms like straight down?
It's like the Seinfeld episode.
Yes, that's exactly how it is. I am that character from the Seinfeld episode. So I'm looking forward to getting back the use of my arms this week. That's what I'm looking forward to.
That's good. Hitting the buys and tries, man. That's good. Yeah.
I'm living that life. I'm making eye contact with everybody at the gym. Like, yeah, just getting our lift on, right?
You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to keep your eyes down, no eye contact. That's just awkward.
Oh, I'm
Don't do
so
that.
new to this world, Adam.
Yeah, eyes down, headphones on, and look pissed. That's basically the rule. Funny story, my 5-year-old really loves 10,000 Fists in the Air by Disturbed, and she always asks for me to put it on right before we're pulling into her private Christian school that I drop her off at. That can be a little awkward sometimes. Apple Music thinks that I love Disturbed, which I'm okay with it. But they came out with a new single, and I kept getting a lot of alerts about the new Disturbed single that came out this weekend. So yeah, my 5-year-old, probably not the best music for a 5-year-old to be listening to, but she likes the drums, so.
Next week, Adam, we'll have more stories to talk about. We'll have episode 24 next week.
Looking forward to it. Can you get the cool countdown from Jack Bauer for that episode, please, and pipe that in to that one for our 24th episode?
I see what you're doing. I see what you did.
Yeah, like the deep, 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 deep. Yeah, that'd be good. Let's do that.
I'll be sure to get it. Okay. Well, thank you, Adam. Everybody, thank you for listening. All the links are in the description, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much for listening. The Incident Report is brought to you by Quest Technology Management. With over 40 years of experience, Quest is a leading technology integrator working seamlessly with your staff and systems to achieve your IT goals. Learn more about everything they do at questsys.com. And if you have questions or suggestions for the podcast, you can always email Adam and myself at theincidentreport@questsys.com. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time.